Hello and welcome to nCloud9's Dynamics 365 10 Best Practices webinar. My name is Brian Begley. Before we get started, just so you know, this webinar is going to be recorded and will be shared on our YouTube. So if you do not wish to be part of a recorded webinar, please feel free to leave and we will send you a copy of that webinar at the end of the presentation. This webinar today is going to focus on best practices for CRM users as opposed to best practices for CRM administrators. These are ways that you as a CRM user or a Dynamics 365 user can get the best out of your Dynamics 365 system. So we're going to be going through a number of topics today. We have about 10 topics that we're going to be going through about setting up your profile picture, updating your personal settings, working with search, customizing views and dashboards, how to update data using Excel, how to use Word templates and send them to your clients as PDFs, how to view your activities on a calendar, and then finally we're going to talk about collaboration with teams. Now we only have 30 minutes for this webinar. We generally try to keep our webinars under 30 minutes, so that's a lot of topics to go through. So if we don't go deep enough, feel free to reach out to us after the webinar is over if you have any questions. Of course, we'll take some questions at the end as well. So with that, we're going to get started. I'm going to switch my screen here and to my other monitor, and we'll just get started here. So bear with me while I do that. All right. So now we're in Dynamics 365. We're in the Sales Hub. Hopefully by now, all of you are using the Dynamics 365 Sales Hub for your Dynamics 365 usage, because I believe at the end of next month, the classic user interface will be completely removed for end users. So if you're not using the Sales Hub, please reach out to us. We can help you out with that. So we're going to start with a couple simple things. And these are often overlooked personal settings that end users may not know about that can make working with Dynamics 365 a little bit easier. The way to reach these settings is to click on the gear in the upper right corner of the screen. If I click on that gear, it takes me to personal settings. It's the first item on the list there. If I open up personal settings, it's going to open up a screen here. Any second now, there it is. And it's a screen with the title that says Set Personal Options. Now I'm going to scroll before I go to my personal options. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of this pop-up, and there's a option that says View Your User Information. Now this is where I would go if I wanted to update my profile picture in Dynamics 365. When I click on this, it brings up my user record, and you'll notice that in the upper left corner, there's a circle with my initials in it. If I click on that circle, I can update the image to whatever image I want it to be. I'm going to choose a picture of myself. I'm going to go out to my picture folder, and I'm going to find a picture of myself here, and I'm going to choose Open and upload this picture into CRM. So now it's going to take that picture, and you'll notice upper left corner, there I am, my new picture. Now, one of the reasons why I like using images and profile pictures for my users in CRM is when I'm looking at an account record, and maybe I'm looking at the activities in that account record, I can quickly see by the image in that activity of who that activity is. So if I recognize from the picture who this is, that's Brian Begley, and this picture is Jim Glynn, I can pretty quickly see who has created or who owns activities. So that's one of the reasons I like to add profile pictures of my users. There are some hacks that you can use using Microsoft Flow to update pictures automatically from Office 365 profile pictures, and there's some resources out on the web for how to do that. So now that we've updated my profile picture, I'm going to close this screen here. We're going to go back to my personal options. And when I go to my personal options, there's a number of changes that I, as an end user, should be making when I use Dynamics 365 to make sure I'm getting the best usage out of it. We're going to start at the top and on the first tab. There's a lot of tabs here, but there's not too many changes that we recommend you make. The first thing I would recommend is looking at what your default homepage and settings is. So what that means is, what's my default homepage? Well, when I start Dynamics 365, I'm going to start in the sales pane and I'm going to go to the dashboards. But let's say I don't care so much about dashboards. I don't want to look at my dashboards. I want to go immediately to my opportunities, or I want to go immediately to my activities when I start Dynamics 365. So I would leave my pane set as sales, but I would change my default tab to activities. So when I do that, Dynamics 365 is going to reset, and in a few seconds, it should set me that I default to my activities. It looks like it might be taking a little bit more time, but generally, I would now open Dynamics 365. When I go into it, I'm going to go to my activities as my first pane. That saves me a step if I don't care so much about looking at dashboards every time I get in. If I just want to get to my leads, my opportunities, my accounts, my contacts, I can set my default screen there. Another change I always make, and I always recommend for my customers, is changing the number of records per page. By default, Dynamics 365 shows 50 records per page. What that means is a page is in your views. When you're looking at your contacts or accounts, by default, you're only looking at 50 contacts at a time in those lists. If you want to, and I recommend changing this to 250, the reason it's set at 50 was back when first Dynamics 365 was first started, internet speeds were much slower. So sending 250 records at a time would have taken a lot more time and would have slowed down CRM. Now that we all have faster internet speeds, you have 250 records per page because it makes scrolling around CRM much more easier. And like I said, by default, this is set at 50. So I bet if you look at most people in your organization or look at yourself, you're set to 50 records per page. So we always recommend upping it to 250, makes scrolling around in CRM a little bit faster. Next change that we recommend is changing the advanced find mode from simple to detailed. I'll tell you why when we go further on today, but detailed allows you to get started with one less click anytime you're looking to create a custom advanced find query in CRM. So going from simple to detailed right here will reduce a lot of clicks later on, especially if you do a lot of work with advanced finds. The next step is to set your default search experience. We're going to be talking about relevant search later on today. So I usually will set this to relevant search. I'm going to talk about why you don't want to use categorized search anymore. You want to switch to relevant search. So set that to default to be your relevant search. Next is time zone. This is not always correct and can cause troubles when you're looking at reporting on data or looking at data created by other users in the system or data created by you. I would always make sure that you're set with the correct time zone. By default, your user's time zone is the time zone of the CRM organization. So if you have for example, we're based in Central Time, but we have users in Arizona, California, Montana. So we always make sure that they set their time zone to the correct time zone when they're using it. So do that, as well as setting your default currency. What this does is every organization has a default currency, or they can use multiple currencies. By default, this field is blank when you get to CRM. So what does that do? Well, what that does for you is when you create opportunities or accounts or leads or any record that requires a currency field in it, if you've set your default currency to whatever your default currency is, that will create those records with that currency. So you don't have to fill in the currency field on an opportunity, on an account, on a contact, on a lead. So just one more thing that I would do when I'm working with Dynamics 365. A couple more personal settings that we like to go through. I'm going to go through a few of them a little bit quickly, is going to email templates. I'm not going to get too deep into email templates here, but from this personal options, I can create custom email templates that I can use when I'm in Dynamics 365. So if I have a standard email I like to send to customers who've purchased from us for the first time, or a contact us type of email to reach out to a customer you haven't spoken to in a while, and you find yourself typing the same email messages over and over again, use email templates. Create your own. You can have organization-wide email templates that are created by your CRM administrators. Your custom email templates allow you to create email templates that only you have access to. After email templates, we have email signatures. We're almost done on the updating personal settings here. Email signatures are just like an email signature in Outlook. It allows you to create an email signature for yourself. So I could say this is my default signature, and I can just type in my name and my job title. And I can choose to change the font size to make it larger or smaller. And I could use this now as my default signature when I'm sending an email out of Dynamics 365. So by default, the first one we create is the default signature, which will get appended to any emails I create in Dynamics if I choose to. But you can have multiple email signatures in addition to multiple email templates. That's email signatures, email templates. Now let's look at a few personal settings that you have for email. There are a number of settings here that we do work with our clients and have them customize and modify to fit with best practices. One thing we like to do is allow other users to send email on your behalf. This is a personal setting because it is set by each user to allow them to control whether other people in Dynamics can send email on behalf. If you don't have this checked and you have a workflow in CRM, for example, that's a notification email that might have your name in the to, that email will be prevented from being sent. Next is tracking email messages. And there's a number of different settings here, but I generally keep my email tracking settings to be automatically track email settings in Outlook from CRM leads, contacts, and accounts. I just find that it makes it easier whenever I get an email from a customer to automatically create that email also tied to that lead or that contact that I'm working with. Finally, the last setting in email that I usually look at is unchecking this setting here. By default, Microsoft is set up so that whenever you receive an email that you track into Dynamics and it is from an email address it doesn't recognize, it's going to create a contact automatically for that sender. What I don't like about it is it just creates a contact with only an email address in it. So it's really kind of a useless contact. And in addition to creating contacts, that you can also choose to create leads. I just don't like this setting because it seems like we're creating records in Dynamics that really have no purpose. So I tend to kind of turn that off automatically. Final setting I do in the personal options is related to privacy. By privacy, what I mean is Microsoft asks if you want to send error messages occasionally. I always set this to never. That way we're not getting pop-ups from Microsoft Dynamics saying, hey, we have an error report. Do you mind if we send it to Microsoft? I always turn it off at an organization level, but I also turn it off at a personal level as an end user. So that's personal settings. I want to move on to our next setting, which is best practices around using Dynamics search. So one of the great new features that came in the last couple of years, and probably the last 3 or 4 years, is global search. And there are 2 global search experiences in Dynamics 365. The one that you most likely are using is called categorized search. It's been around for about 4 or 5 years. It does a good job. I can type here and I can type Caniglia, and it will find that I have an account with the name Caniglia. I have a few contacts with the name Caniglia, and I have an opportunity with the name Caniglia. The problem is I can't do other things. So let's say I'm going to search on the word Valley Stream. I want to find out if I have any clients in Valley Stream. Well, it's going to show me that we have 2 clients that have the word Valley Stream somewhere in them. But let's say I wanted to search on just the word stream. It's going to find no results for me unless I remember to put an asterisk in there, and then it's going to find me any results that have the word stream in it. So you always have to remember to put that asterisk in there. It's a little bit of an annoyance. Relevant search is a different search experience. It's much more improved than what Microsoft originally had with categorized. Reason I find most people don't use it is they've been using categorized search for a long time. The second reason I find people don't use it is their administrator needs to actually turn this on in their system. So your system administrator would need to turn this on, and then they need to do some configuration of it. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to show you some cool features of relevant search. One thing I'll do is I'm going to search on the word Valley Stream. So when I search in the word Valley Stream, it's going to show me all the accounts, all the opportunities, all the tasks with that terminology in it somewhere. Now, what I like is I can easily, on the left-hand side, I can look at these different facets of the search and I can change them. So if I want to, in this search, just say, I only want to see records with Valley Stream that were modified today or in the last week or two, I would be able to see that. By changing my facets and filters along the left, I can change my what records I'm seeing. I can also filter them by saying, I only want to see accounts. So now I'm only seeing accounts with the word stream. But what I want you to notice is it also selected a record here called, Caniglia Streaming Services. Now, I didn't search on the word streaming. I searched on the word stream, but it found, much like a Google search or a good Bing search, other records that might be related to the search term you entered there. So it really helps to be able to use relevant search, because it doesn't, in categorized search, you need to search on the exact term you're looking for. With relevant search, you can start seeing search on other terms or related terms. Another thing I want to do is I want to search on, trying to think of a good term here. I'm going to search on the word organization. No, that's not helpful. Test. Let's go search on the word test. Test is always a good word to search on. So I want to show you a little bit more on the facets here. Previously, when I did my searching, so it found test contact and test lead, I could filter my results by the record type. So I could say, only show me accounts with the word test in it. And when I do that, it shows me there are 2 accounts with the word test in it. One is owned by Brian, one is owned by Deborah. One was probably modified a year ago, and one was modified on today. Also, I could see when they were created on. So if I wanted to change my filters to show only ones that were modified in the last year, I would only see this result. So relevant search gives you a lot more flexibility on how you see your results. So start using relevant search. I didn't like it at first, but the more I started using it, the more I really liked it. So once again, I liked categorized search for a long time. About a year ago, I started using relevant search full time, and it keeps getting better and better every time I use it. The next thing I want to go into is timeline search. Now, this is the second search engine within Dynamics 365, and I'm going to search here for Kristen Caniglia again. And I want to find an email or a task that I created with her maybe sometime in the last year or so. So I'm going to open up Kristen's record here, and I'm going to look at her timeline. And I want to find, I know that at some point in the last year, I discussed something with Kristen about an update. And so I know that I used the word update in the email. And so I can, in the timeline, I now can search in my timeline. I'm going to search on the word update. And what it's going to do is it's going to show me that within Kristen Caniglia's timeline, oh, there we go. We have that task that we created a year ago regarding an update that we needed to do for her. So what did I do? Very quickly, I was in the contact record. I'm looking for an email or a task or some other activity or a note. I can just search in this box, quickly find the results I'm looking for, and open that record, edit it, maybe respond to an email that we might have received. It just makes it a lot easier to find activities and notes that have been stored in Dynamics 365. So the next thing I want to go through, and time is going very quickly here, is best practice number 5, creating custom views. And this is something everybody should be familiar with. We're going to go through creating a custom view based on my active accounts. So in my active accounts, I want to create a custom view that is a view that says, show me all of my active accounts that are maybe in a certain state and maybe have a certain relationship type. So I'm going to click on my advanced find button in the ribbon. And when I do that, I'm going to open up my advanced find ribbon. And now I'm going to show you something. Do you remember back when we did our settings, personal settings, and I said open advanced finds in, I think it was summary or detail mode? Well, if I kept it in the default mechanism, I would have to click on details in order to make changes to this view. Because I changed it to details, it automatically shows me the facets of this search, and I can quickly, without clicking on the details button, go in and make changes to this query. So now I'm going to do my query, and I'm going to say advanced state and address 1 state province equals New York. And I'm going to say my relationship, and I think the relationship field is customer relationship. Maybe not, maybe it's just relationship. We'll say relationship type equals, and we can choose a couple of values here. We'll choose competitor, consultant, customer. Okay, and we're going to click results, and we're going to come up with no results. Well, that's because we probably have no data that fits that query. I'm going to go back and update a record or two to fit that query. We're going to open up Datum Corporation. I'm going to make them a competitor, which they are, but I'm going to update their state from Washington to New York. And I'm going to click Save and Close. And then I'm going to go to one more company, Feldman Radin here. And Feldman Radin does show that they are in New York, but we don't have a relationship type set with them. So I'm going to set their relationship that they are a consultant. And click Save and Close to update those records. And then I'm going to open up the advanced find again. So my advanced find, status equals active, relationship equals New York, and I'm sorry, state equals New York, relationship type equals competitor or consultant. I'm going to click on for my results, and now we show that we have 2 records in this set. I can make more customizations to it, which we've talked about in our last webinar on filtering in Dynamics 365. But I'm going to, at this point, just save this view. So I'm going to save this view as my active accounts, New York, and I'm going to say competitor / consultant. All right. And now I've saved this view. I'm going to click Save and Close. And now when I refresh Dynamics 365, I have this custom view. Got to refresh it one more time. There it is. My active accounts, New York, competitor, and I misspelled competitor, consultants. Now I can pin this down so this is my default view when I go into my account records. But what I could also do with this is I can share this view with other users, and I can use it to export to Excel. I can do all sorts of things with it. So I want to go back and show you now what you can do with creating custom dashboards. Now that we've gone quickly through creating custom views, now, everybody likes to use CRM for dashboards, but out of the box, Dynamics comes with a set of pre-built dashboards. So for example, in the Sales Hub, we have 4 dashboards that we show here. Well, let's say I want to create a dashboard that fits my needs, because I don't necessarily care about my closed opportunities in the current year. I know what I want to see. I'm going to click here and I'm going to say create a new dashboard. Very quickly, I'm going to create a 2-column dashboard. I get to choose the layout of my dashboard. I'm going to say it's just going to be 4 items in it. I'm going to click create. And it's going to open up this dashboard creator in my other screen. Now, this allows you to create a custom dashboard. You can also add custom charts to your dashboard. Those are simple to make, but we're going to start with creating a chart. And we're going to start with, I want to create right in this, when I go into CRM, the first thing I want to see is my activities that are due today. So I'm going to say activities, and I'm going to use a my activities, and I'm going to say, show me activities by month due. I'm going to click add, and it's going to show me all of my activities with their month due. And from here, I can click on September and quickly get started on those activities. I'm going to also maybe add in a chart of my open opportunities. So I'm going to scroll down in my record type to opportunities. And I'm going to say, what do I want to do? I want to use my open opportunities, but I want to use the out-of-box sales pipeline chart. Okay, so I click and I add that in there. And then finally, maybe I want a list of all my opportunities in here. So I'm going to click on Insert List, and I get to choose what view of data I want to add in. So I'm going to put in my opportunities, and I'm going to choose my open opportunities. I'm going to add that in there. And then finally, let's just put in a chart of my open activities. So I'm going to click on the Insert List here, and I'm going to say, show me my activities. And I'm going to say my activities, and I'm going to click add. So what I've done now is I got to give this a name, and it's going to say, call it Brian's personal dashboard. Now you can share this dashboard with other users if they find that it has value to them. So that's pretty simple to do. So I'm going to close this, and now I show my dashboard. When I open up CRM, this could be my default dashboard. The way I set it to my default dashboard is click on the ribbon to see where it says set as default. And now whenever I go into Dynamics, my personal dashboard will load up. That was pretty easy to make. And I think it's a lot better to build your own personal dashboard rather than a dashboard that someone else has created for you. I think it's great that Microsoft gives you that power. Pardon me. So I'm going to make one more. I got 3 more. No, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wow, we have 4 more left, and we are running low on time. So I'm going to go through the next 4. Let's start with updating data in Excel. So I'm going to show you how you can take this data here from my active accounts in New York, competitors and consultant, and I'm going to export this out to Excel. Now there's 2, and then update it, and then re-import the data into Dynamics. I can click export to Excel, and I have a couple of options for how I want to edit this data. The first one is open in Excel Online, and I like this one because what it does is it opens Excel Online in a window above the screen we're looking at. It shows me my records. I can go in here and I can make changes and edits to them, and I can click save, and it will update those changes right in place. It takes about 5 minutes, so we're not going to have enough time to see the change come through, but it will go in and make those changes to the records I just updated. Really slick, really fast, for really if you want to do a number of updates quickly. But let's say you want to go into your contacts here, and you want to take this list of active contacts and you want to do some updating, but you want to hand the data to someone else to update in an Excel spreadsheet. Well, what you can do is you can export a view to Excel as a static worksheet. And what it will do is it'll open up this data in Excel. You click enable editing. Now you could share this with someone else in your organization, or you could take it yourself, but then I'm just going to make a couple changes here. Going to give this guy a middle name, and I'm going to give Alex Green an email. Okay, so I've made my changes, I've made my updates. I click File, I click Save, and then I'm going to go into Dynamics 365. Now, you can click on Import from Excel in your view. And when you click on Import in Excel, it'll ask you to choose the file. And so we're going to say it was this My Active Contacts. I'm going to click Next. And I'm going to click Finish Import. And it will start the update for us. And we're going to just ignore this for right now. And within about 5 minutes, these records should be updated to have those fields that we are looking to. It'll have the updates. For example, Aaron will have a middle name there. Okay, so we're going to keep moving forward from updating data in Excel to the next step, which is building Word templates and email and sending them as emails or as a PDF in one step. Now, where might you use Word templates? I think you might use them in a opportunity. So let's say I have an opportunity with this customer here. I'm going to just open this in a different way. I'm going to open up this opportunity here. Let's just make sure we have some product line items attached. We do not. So let's go to another opportunity. Sorry, here I thought I had one selected. I think it's the scooter one. It's the one I wanted. All right, so now we're opening up this scooter order that I have a customer, and I've added some product line items to this customer. So I can create a Word template, and we've already have one built in the system that's called an opportunity summary. And what that means is it's a Microsoft Word template that takes information from this opportunity and creates it in a format that we can send to the customer. So I'm going to show you now how you can take this Word template and you can export it to a PDF to choose what to do with it from there. Now, there's a button in this CRM that says Export to CRM. That's different from what you see today. We're actually looking at the October 2020 update. In the current version of Dynamics 365, you have two buttons. One says Save as PDF, and the other one says Email as PDF. So I'm going to show you in the October update, which you'll be getting next month. If you click on Export to PDF, you'll be able to choose the document that you want to use, and it actually shows you what it looks like before they sent it. So I'm looking at this opportunity. It basically looks like a quote here, and I could choose from here to download it. So doing that downloads a copy of it to my desktop, and I can choose what to do with it there. I can choose to save to Dynamics, which makes a copy of this and saves it as a note in the timeline. So very quickly in my timeline, you'll see, let's go to our timeline here, that there's that opportunity summary. Oh, I think I got to refresh the screen here. Refresh the timeline. We should see, there it is right there, that we have a note that was created just now with a copy of that opportunity summary attached to it. But finally, from the export to PDF, I can also just click on the email button. And what it will do is it'll create an email from me in Dynamics 365 that has a copy of that summary attached to it. You can see that right here. And then from inside, then I can just type my email that says, you know, here, Bob, here's your quote. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'd love to work with you on this. So I can click send, and we are sending out all in basically 2 or 3 clicks an email to our customer with a quote attached to it for them to review. Real fast, a lot faster than it used to be. It would probably be about 10 steps in the older way of working with Dynamics 365. So we only have time for 2 more items today. The next one is about viewing activities on a calendar. Now, most of what I've shown you today is ways you can work with Dynamics 365 that you don't need your system administrator to set up. In this case, you would need a system administrator to set up this view for you, but once you've done it, it makes working with activities, for example, much easier. So I'm looking at my list of tasks here, and I have a lot of tasks that might be overdue, that might be due in the future. But sometimes it's hard to look at a list of data like this and just get a feel for what is really going on here. So I can change how any view looks today by clicking on the three dots in the upper right corner and click Show As. Now, once again, your system administrator has to turn this on. We can help them do it. It's a very fast thing to do. But once I choose to say, hey, allow them to see data in a calendar, I can now open up my task list in a calendar view. So right now I'm looking at all of my tasks that are due today. I'm going to change that from to a day to a week. And also I could change it to a month. So now I'm looking at all of my tasks that are coming up for this month. I can click on a task and it will pop up more data information on that. If I click on more details, it'll actually open up the task for me and I can do what I need to do, like mark something as complete. But I really like being able to go to my activities and look at my tasks in a calendar way. It just makes it so much easier to say, what do I have to do today? What's overdue? What was I supposed to do last week that I haven't finished? And just be able to quickly work with my tasks from here. That's showing activities on a calendar. Once again, if you need any help getting started with that, feel free to reach out to us. We'll get you started. The last thing I want to show is working with Dynamics 365 and collaborating with teams. Now, a lot of organizations have started using Teams over the last few months, especially with how people are more working from home and instead of being in an office together. So we've started a lot of people using Teams within their Office 365 that may not have used it before. What I want to show you is a few ways you can use Dynamics 365 in Teams. In the next couple months, we're going to be doing another webinar because after October, we're going to have even more tighter integrations between Dynamics 365 and Teams. First thing I want to show you is I'm going to go change to my active accounts view. I want to show you that ways to work with Teams. So for example, we have a company here called the Jones Company. And we have done an integration between Jones Company and Teams where we are showing files that are stored in the Jones Company team channel are also showing in Dynamics 365. So right now we're showing a file here, Opportunity Advanced Finds. I want to upload maybe another file into this. So we're going to choose a file from my desktop. We're going to choose that Opportunity Summary PDF that I just created. And it moves a copy of this file into Teams files for this organization. So what we've done here is we've linked the Teams files and the Dynamics 365 account record to show you files for that account. Let's go quickly switch back into Teams. I'm going to find that Jones Company team. And if you go here, you'll see under General, and we go under Files in General, you'll see, oh, maybe it was under this one. You'll see there's a couple areas here. Yeah, here's that Opportunity Summary, because we've tied that company record to this particular channel. So file integration between Dynamics 365 and Teams, it's here today. You should start taking advantage of it to organize your files for your different clients. Another thing you could do once you're in Dynamics, once you have your Dynamics 365 synced with Teams, is from within a channel, you can actually add a Dynamics 365 tab to that channel. So I'm going to choose to say I want to choose to add an account for the Jones Company here. And I'm going to choose an opportunity here. And we're going to say I'm going to share it with these two members. I'm going to click Save. So what did I just do here? I've added this opportunity record that exists in Dynamics 365. It's loading up here. I'm actually displaying that opportunity record in Dynamics 365. So now other members of my team who may not necessarily be Dynamics users have the ability to view this data that's in Dynamics. So I really like being able to pin specific records to a team channel that we're using for a project or for a sales opportunity that we're working with. The final thing I want to show you with Teams is something that's just come across in the last couple months, is you can actually run Dynamics 365 from within Microsoft Teams. So along the left side, we have a bunch of tabs that we can add. And what I've done here is I've connected Dynamics 365 into Teams. So now I'm in Dynamics 365, inside Teams. I'm in the Sales Hub. I could do pretty much everything that I was able to do in the Dynamics 365 web app. I could do it all from within the Dynamics 365 app inside Teams. I really think Microsoft is pushing Teams to be an application that is going to be like an operating system. In other words, you do all your work within Teams moving forward. So Microsoft is really pushing to integrate their apps, and this is a great example of that. So with that, I've shown you 10 different best practices, hints, and tricks that you can do to make Dynamics work better for you. At this point, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them. We will be sending out in the next day or so a copy of the PowerPoint for this webinar. The PowerPoint is different in that for every item we discuss, we'll show you the links on this PowerPoint for best practices on how to set it up. So if you've been watching this video and you really want to do some work with creating your own custom views or a custom dashboard, in our PowerPoint, we're going to provide you the link so that you can get started on that yourself. So it looks like we don't have any questions at this time, so we're going to just wrap this up today.
Brian, excuse
yes.
me. I just got one comment. It wasn't really a question, it was more of a comment. Somebody pointed out it was very helpful that you gave some helpful hints for the changes that you suggested in personal options to alleviate some headaches later. Like they mentioned time zone and number of records shown per page. They just really thought that was helpful.
Well, thank you. I mean, what we find is that most people don't even know they have it, especially when we bring in a company where the client themselves did their initial deployment of Dynamics. They may not have even known that those personal settings were something for them to review. So we usually go over the personal settings with our users when we're doing our initial training. So I'm glad I was able to help you with showing that. Thank you. So our next webinar is October 16th, and it's going to be a timely webinar about the new features that are coming out in the October 2020 update. You should start seeing an email about that in the next week or so, asking you to sign up for that. So until then, we look forward to hearing from you. Feel free to reach out to us with any questions or any way we can help you out. My name is Brian Begley. bbegley@ncloud9.com is the best way to reach me. So thank you very much and have a good day. Bye-bye.